Every day here on Fox 32 Chicago, we report on victims of violence. Tonight, we want to focus on the care they receive with a closer look at how race has historically affected access to fast, life-saving help and how eliminating a trauma desert is changing that. When an off-duty cop was shot on Chicago's far south side last month, fellow officers quickly drove him to the University of Chicago ER for emergency surgery.
He remained stable throughout the entire case, and he's currently doing well.
If that shooting happened 3 years ago, it could have been a different outcome. The University of Chicago and the entire South Side did not have a Level 1 adult trauma center to handle a gunshot victim.
Level 1 trauma center can take care of the sickest of the sick, traumatically injured person.
Dr. Selwyn Rogers Jr. has led this trauma center since the University of Chicago first turned the lights on in May 2018. That brought trauma care to an area experiencing much of the city's trauma for the first time in nearly 30 years.
The bottom line is that this community was in need of a trauma center, and University of Chicago opened a trauma center. And that's really a very simple story.
Former University of Chicago student Dr. Ali Abbasi studied patient transport times before and after the new center opened and found race has played a big part.
The story of where the trauma centers are located in Chicago is really the story of residential segregation in the city of Chicago.
He found before the U Chicago Trauma Center opened, it took 2 minutes longer to transport a black patient in Chicago to life-saving help than it did a white patient.
Then after the trauma center opened, that gap basically shrunk.
And it's made the most dramatic change in places close to the University of Chicago. Take the South Shore neighborhood. Instead of taking a trauma victim downtown to Northwestern or to Cook County Hospital on the west side, going to U of C shaves 9 minutes off that ride.
9 minutes can be life or death for the most critically injured patients. Those people who are the most severely injured, time is of the essence.
He says 40% of their trauma cases are from gun violence. So after they stop the bleeding, they work to stop the shooting with a recovery program to support victims and their families. Dr. Rogers says this new center is one step in the fight against Chicago's violence and one step towards tearing down structural racism.
And I think this is an important period of having a reckoning of how racism has impacted so many communities and what we collectively as a nation can do to make a difference.
As soon as it opened, the University of Chicago Adult Trauma Center became one of the busiest in the country. It hasn't been open a full 3 years yet and has already treated more than 10,000 patients. Sally Schulze, Fox 32 News. You okay if I sit in the front?
Absolutely.
Sergeant Servando Velez offers to show us Austin.
All right.
All right, let's go.
All right, guys.
First, pointing out the trouble spots.
This area has been actually a hot spot.
Streets where drug dealers hang.
They were walking as soon as they saw me around the corner.
Blocks caught in a gang war.
Had a lot of action on these 2 blocks right here.
As we drive through a community, often in mourning.
There are funerals every day, unfortunately.
But Sergeant Velez also shows us how small actions are part of a bigger plan.
How you doing, sir? Doing good? You need a hand? Okay. You got it.
Tell me why you do an interaction like that.
Again, it's about letting regular people know that they're not expendable. I mean, there's people out here that matter.
There's no magic necessarily to us. It's not like we're the best. No, when you add more police and more community services in an area, you get positive results.
Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart stations 30 to 100 of his people in Austin each day. Chicago police are still in charge, but the Sheriff's Department helps and has for more than 3 years.
The reality is these are complex issues that require long-term strategies.
This effort goes beyond patrols and arrests to community engagement. That means throwing a barbecue for the community right here, helping with a 5K along this street, and reading to kids in schools.
They understand that you care, that you want to work with them, you want to help them, and then these barriers start crumbling down.
Another barrier buster, officers on bikes pedaling through the neighborhood, plus a permanent command post on Chicago Avenue. The numbers show something is working. Shootings in Austin down 4.1% compared to last year. Murders down 18.6% despite citywide increases.
That was a drug-infested store.
they shut it down.
Rosie Dawson says Austin feels safer, and residents prefer talking to sheriff's police than to CPD.
I think they approach you more humanely, you know, with a decent conversation versus I'm in charge.
It's my job to more or less humanize everything for everyone and say, you know what, we are part of the community. We are out here looking to make things better for everybody.
Could this strategy work elsewhere? The sheriff doesn't have the resources to try. In Austin, Sally Schulze, Fox 32, Chicago. With chickens named after the Golden Girls, one South suburban family has embraced their new life on the farm.
I literally just went to Brad and was like, so I think I want to be a farmer. And he was like, okay, so how are you going to be a farmer in a townhouse in Bolingbrook?
So Derek Drake and his husband, Brad Sheaver, moved to a traditional farmhouse in Mokina. But their plan for farming veers far away from traditional methods at Ditto Foods. Instead of crops covering a field, here plants climb the walls inside a shipping container.
It's cold outside right now, but it's a perfect spring day in here.
LED lights replace the sun and shine 18 hours a day.
We're replicating nature at its finest.
You know, we joke, he's the heart and I'm the head of the business. And so my first question was, well, what can we grow?
The answer is access to fresh foods for people in food deserts like Drake's hometown.
Fort Heights, there's no grocery stores. There's no one really, trying to bring, clean, honest produce to those communities. So that's our mission.
In Fort Heights, they donate produce to food pantries and work in schools teaching kids about hydroponic farming.
Rich purple, good stuff.
Growing this business during the pandemic was not easy. 25 banks said no to financing this shipping container. Because imagine trying to explain you want to be a farmer, but only need 320 square feet.
We don't need land. We don't need tractors. We don't need the dirt. We just need to purchase solely one piece of equipment. And it's near impossible to try to explain that.
But they got the financing, and Ditto Foods now grows 9,000 heads of lettuce every 6 weeks. They use an online farmers market called Market Wagon to send produce to 7 Chicago area counties.
I harvest that morning or the night before and take it directly to their warehouse, and then they ship it directly. They're delivering it directly to the customers by that afternoon. So you can't get any fresher than that.
All thanks to a fresh take on farming and feeding neighbors. In Mokina, Sally Schulze, Fox 32, Chicago. Want high school students to remember their lesson on quantum technology? Maybe bring in a surprise guest. Former President Barack Obama sent a jolt of electricity through this technology hub in Hyde Park. Students from Kenwood Academy were on a field trip to learn about the future of communication. Obama had something to say about our current form. You know, the phone everyone was aiming his way.
That's a lot of power, and that's great. But I hope what you are learning in this panel, and you have to understand yourselves, is just because it's on TikTok don't mean it's true.
Competing with that star power, the power of emerging technology, here at the Chicago Quantum Exchange.
The new learning experience of what we're going to have in the future.
Using simple games, a team from the University of Chicago helped explain this complex concept. Lesson 1, quantum technology is way different than current technology that's binary and uses zeros and ones.
Quantum technology deals with a quantum bit. And a quantum bit is not 0 or 1. It's both 0 and 1 at the same time. It's a superposition.
Yep, it's confusing. But kids seem to understand the importance. When they had a mock election, they swiped through tangled light, getting close up to quantum key distribution, said to be the future of communication that hackers can't hack.
It was really cool. It was definitely fast, so I get what they call it the speed of light.
Because this could be used in so many areas of our lives, that means a lot of companies working in quantum technology that need a lot of workers. That's one big reason they want to introduce these teenagers to it now.
Companies, universities, national laboratories are all going to need people with this experience. You know, it's not physics, it's not computer science, it's not electrical engineering, it's not math, it's all of it combined in this new discipline. And they will be the users of it and also define how it will be used.
A high-tech lesson with a high-profile speaker, putting other field trips to shame.
In Hyde Park, Sally Schulze, Fox 32, Chicago.
Joins us now to tell us more about it. Hi, Sally.
Hi, Roseanne. We are inside Bethel New Life, which is a community wellness hub here in the Austin neighborhood. Well, this place just got a new food pantry as well. They want to make sure that residents nearby have fresh, healthy food to eat. But this new effort goes beyond just feeding people. There's been quite a lot of excitement here for the grand opening of what is called the Bethel Daily Bread. This is a partnership with Amazon and Amazon Fresh and Rush University Medical Center. You mentioned that mantra, food is medicine. Say someone has diabetes. They can get prescribed the right food and recipes here to help with that. Also, the staff here will use technology to make sure people get access to things that they may need, such as a primary care physician, transportation, daycare, workforce training, all with the goal of addressing food insecurity plus medical and social needs on Chicago's West Side. And of course, this comes at a time when fresh food, it's just too expensive for too many people.
Every item in the bag is very expensive for a person who's on a fixed income, a person who have finances are very low and they're struggling already. So the least thing we can do is to try and help. So thank you for doing that, and also thank Amazon and Rush for participating, because look, healthcare is going to be the #1 issue here that we have to deal with coming out of the pandemic.
And as we talk about how those budgets are strained, especially this time of year, through that partnership with Amazon, they adopted about 3 dozen families. And so when they come to pick up their boxes of food today, they're also getting bags of Christmas presents. They've got a holiday meal here set up as well. This place right now, the new food pantry, which is next door to where I'm standing, it's going to be open 3 days a week to start, but they do have plans to expand that in the future. We are live in the Austin neighborhood. Sally Schulze, Fox 32, Chicago.
Sally, I just want to take a quick minute to wish you the very best. Sally is moving on, leaving Fox 32. You've done such a great job. We're really going to miss you.
Roseanne, you're going to make me all teary-eyed here. Yeah, this is my last live shot, my last day at Fox 32. Thanks to you and everybody here on the crew that makes this happen, and of course everybody watching at home. I'll miss you all.
Oh, thanks, Sally.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I'm Anthony Ponce.
And I'm Sally Schulze. We start with a thrilling win for Team USA at the World Cup.
You saw that unfold right here on Fox 32. That one goal made all the difference as the U.S. outlasted Iran.
Let's bring in our Luke Canellas with what's next as the U.S. moves on to the Sweet 16 in Qatar. This is big.
I'll tell you what a match, Sally. The stake.
Parents of JV hockey players hurt in a crash just filed a lawsuit saying they want accountability. 16 families plus 2 coaches from St. Ignatius College Prep announced this civil suit today, describing the terrifying night of that crash earlier this month in Indiana. A semi-tractor trailer ran into the team bus, injuring more than 24 kids. According to this suit, the driver, Victor Santos, ran a red light, had a blood alcohol level nearly twice the legal limit, and has a criminal history.
We're looking for answers.
This suit targets the driver plus several trucking companies. Santos also faces criminal charges for this crash. As for the St. Ignatius students, well, one remains hospitalized now, and several are still not back in school. Tears today as work began to remove a beloved statue from a shuttered Catholic church in Pilsen. The statue is being moved from the old St. Adalbert on 17th Street to St. Paul's. That's about 10 blocks away. Those 2 congregations have been consolidated. That statue is a replica of a famous Michelangelo work showing Jesus and Mary. Longtime members of the St. Adalbert community say even with their church closed, they thought the statue should remain.
All right, political mudslinging is the name of the game. The hotly contested Chicago mayoral race moves into a new phase of objection.
Congress lines up behind President Biden's plan to block a rail strike and try to save holiday shipping.
And Ukraine.
We are awaiting a major vote in the U.S. Senate. Lawmakers are expected to pass the Respect for Marriage Act, codifying federal protections for same-sex and interracial marriages. This bill has enough Republican votes to break a filibuster. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments today over a dispute regarding the Biden administration's authority to set immigration policy. But the case is more than just that.
Yes, it will also test the legal standing of states to bring their policy differences with the White House to court. Madeline Rivera reports now from Washington. A recent barrage of Russian strikes has devastated energy supplies in that country.
Let's talk about this with Professor of Political Science Stephen Caliendo back to talk with us from North Central College. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you both.
Okay, we of course have seen the U.S. give so much military aid to Ukraine. Now they're giving this money for infrastructure there. Also, it sounds like urging other countries to do the same. Are we seeing kind of a new front open up here and a new urgent need? You'll be watching. Thank you, Mike. The state fund that provides weekly payments to unemployed Illinoisans could soon get a nearly $2 billion cash infusion. Governor Pritzker said this afternoon he's going to ask the General Assembly to approve this move as the local economy continues to improve.
We've achieved
Republican lawmakers joined Democrats in endorsing the deal to pay off money the unemployment fund borrowed during the pandemic. It averts a big tax increase on employers while maintaining jobless benefits at their current level. There is a little more than a week until a potential rail strike could just wreak havoc on our economy. And of course, it comes right before Christmas.
Now, President Biden is gathering congressional leaders to give them a to-do list of sorts and see what they want before the end of the year. Lauren Blanchard has more now from Washington.
I'm Sally Schulze. Next at 4, a shocking loss. The beloved DJ Twitch, who rose to fame on The Ellen Show, is dead. The latest from Los Angeles. President Biden's historic Marriage Act. It took shape at the U of I. We are going to talk to the professor behind this surprising story. Migrants keep crossing the border in large numbers. We're going to get a look at the situation on the ground in El Paso. And we're going inside a FedEx hub for holiday shipping madness. It's all next. First at 4. Right now, let's get to breaking news. Bally's nearly $2 billion River West Casino has won final zoning approval from Chicago City Council.
Now, in addition to a casino, the zoning...
The City Council also approved a mass transit TIF to help bankroll the Red Line South extension. The new TIF will fund about a quarter of the cost, or $959 million. This extension will take the CTA's Red Line from 95th Street to 130th Street, with 4 new stations along the way. This decision was controversial because the TIF district isn't in the area where the money will be spent. Let's talk about soccer. After 32 teams started the World Cup nearly a month ago, we're down now to 2 teams.
Indeed. Argentina punched their ticket to the final yesterday. They were waiting to see who they would face.
And this afternoon, France took control of their semifinal match. Stephen Twitch boss, Ellen DeGeneres' longtime DJ, has died from an apparent suicide. The dancer broke into the industry in 2008 when he was runner-up on So You Think You Can Dance. In 2014, Twitch began DJing on Ellen's show and became an executive producer in 2020. TMZ says he checked into a hotel not far from home Monday and was found dead there on Tuesday.
But Ellen...
His death comes as researchers find that suicide rates for African-American men are on the rise, growing faster than any other demographic. Twitch had just celebrated his 9-year anniversary with his wife, Allison, over the weekend, and they've posted many videos of them dancing, hanging with their kids. A mental health expert at Rush tells me that pressure from social media is a concern with the rise in suicide for Black men, and so is the access to care.
It's not.
These rankings were based on a number of different factors here, including the amount of Christmas music streamed and Google searches for Christmas-related terms. Now, the state with the most Christmas spirit, New Hampshire.
Maybe we just already know our Christmas-related terms and we don't need to Google them. We're just smarter than the others.
Yeah. I don't know what's up with New Hampshire. Maybe because of their proximity to the North Pole. They've got the advantage over us.
We got that tree, though. That's gorgeous.
That. It is.
Thanks for watching First at 4.
We've got more local news, weather, and sports just ahead on the News at 5.